So thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this panel. I always enjoy being on panels with other women because I personally get very excited when they share. So I think that's one way and one form of networking, which is very good if you enjoy being on panels. So my name is Krista, and I am the founder and host for the Womenpreneur Asia podcast, a podcast that I started during the pandemic in 2020. Besides that, what I do is I always tell people I wear multiple hats. One of the things, my main business, of course, is in web development and marketing through my business, Redbox Studio. That has been ongoing for, I can say right now, 25 years. So that's the main business. But other than that, what I do is I like doing different things. So I co-founded a Women Entrepreneur Association in 2006. I'm no longer the chairperson. I have passed it on to other people to run, but I'm still retained as an advisor. And when you're once a co-founder, always a co-founder. So there's no running away from that, right? So good and bad. Other than that, I sit on the board of Penang Women's Development Corporation, offering my help and my assistance in areas of entrepreneurship and leadership. Other than that, I'm also in a couple of other professional associations like International Association of Business Communicators. On the community side, one of the things that I am really proud of is that my husband and I, we set up the Taman Sri Nibong Book Adoption Center in 2016. This is a real passion of ours because we love to read. And so that itself is a backstory. I wouldn't go into that right now, but that will probably give you an idea of the different things that I do. My hashtag is probably entrepreneurship, women, leadership, marketing.
Since so throughout your journey, right? Share with us one of your biggest challenge, either in the life or your career or your business, and how did you overcome it?
In business and life, we all have lots and lots of challenges, right? But I think because I came into the business that my husband started, so he started the business in 1998, and I entered and joined the business in 2004 after I quit my corporate job. I was a corporate comms manager, so I quit my corporate job to join him. And when I joined him, I had no idea what the web development world was all about. Okay, so that's really a hurdle because you enter an industry that you have no idea. So that was one of the hurdles, right? Besides that, the other hurdle is always about marketing. When you go out, and I don't know whether it's still obvious now, but if you're a woman and you go out and talk about things that are like, I'm sure Suha will understand this too, right? When we talk about engineering or anything related to this, right? Very scientific, people will always talk to the guy because they think that the guy knows more than the gal. So I think that's also something that you have to work with, the perception that, you talk about web development, I think we should talk to the guy, the male partner in the business rather than the female partner. But what I realized that you can learn. I mean, whatever industry you're in, whatever sector you're in, you can learn. And what I did was I had to learn really, really fast because the web development world is not just about the design, but there's a lot of aspects of web development that people ask you about. They ask you about search engine optimization. They ask you about copywriting. They ask you about, how do you market yourself online? And I still get these questions even now after so many years in business. So in order for me to catch up, I really have to be really ahead of the people that I'm helping and serving. So I have to really think of how can I convince them? How can I really raise my credibility in a sense that they trust me? So I think one of the ways to overcome that is not learning, of course, is one part of it. I mean, getting all your knowledge and expertise in order is really important. And because as women, really, we have to have the substance in order to back ourselves up. But the other part I find that's very often overlooked is actually empathy. So if a client comes or prospect comes to me and says, hey, I want to do this, let me start by empathizing first. Like, why is this person needing my service? Or why does he need this thing that I'm offering? I empathize with him first. Then I find out more. And I guess by doing so, having that empathy itself would help you first break the barrier that people, number one, they don't trust you, they don't know who you are, they don't know whether you have substance, they don't know whether you have the expertise to help them. That is just, secondary. First, you have to have empathy. So I think my short answer would be like, yes, I had those different challenges in my business, but I think because of empathy, you're able to take a step back and say, okay, besides expertise, besides things that I need to know, I need to first empathize. And if I can empathize, I think the other person's guard is, let down a little bit, not completely, but let down a little bit, and you can have a good conversation based on that. Yeah.
What is the strength that you think that is always being overlooked, but thinking back now, right? It's more important than ever now. Over these many years, right? What's the strength that you think that is always being overlooked by many people, but it's you think is more important?
I'm a big believer in StrengthsFinder too, taken it twice just to, to see whether anything has changed over the years. But StrengthsFinder is something that I find, in a way, it can help you really understand yourself. So for me, I think one of the overlooked strengths is actually deep listening. So deep listening is something that a lot of people say, oh, but I listen. But sometimes when we're listening, we're also on our phone. We're also watching TV. We're also, trying to think of what's for dinner. So there's so many disturbances when we're listening. So it's not really listening. So I think that one of the things that all of us can do, and this I do it for myself because I force myself to do it through my podcast. Because for my podcast, I have to listen to my guests as they talk. So I interview Asian women entrepreneurs in Asia, and every Asian woman has a different story. So I really need to understand and listen for the next question. When I first started, and this is probably something that I can share, is when I first started, I had a list of questions to ask. I told myself, okay, I must get to these 10 questions in order to make it a solid podcast. But over the episodes that I've recorded, I realized that in the end, what we're looking for is a conversation. Just like today. Today is a conversation. Today is not a meeting. Today is not a, discussion and all that. Today is a conversation. And I think through conversations, if we can listen deeper, we can understand more. I think that itself will give us the greatest takeaways. That itself will show us that, wow, as I listen to Suha, I think, okay, there are so many things about engineering world I don't know about delivering babies and, launching a product. So those are the things that will give us that difference, that thing that we don't have, because we don't always go out into the world knowing everything. So by listening deeply, sometimes listening deeply doesn't mean you have to have an answer at the end. It doesn't mean you have to have the next question. Sometimes it could just be silence. Sometimes it could just be like, okay, I know, okay, I listen to understand. And that's it. So I think that's a skill that all of us can practice. I'm practicing it myself through my own podcast. But I think everyone, whether you're a parent, whether you're, someone at work, whether you're coaching, mentoring someone, I think that is one of the greatest skills that we can really ask ourselves. Am I listening deeply? Because if you listen deeply, the other person will feel it. The other person feels it immediately. So there's no way of writing a questionnaire and say, okay, tick, did I listen to you well? If you listen deeply, that person has the emotional connection with you. And that is actually what it's all about. So I feel that one of the things that we can all do, I mean, regardless of where we are right now in our career, business, where we want to go, I think if we can listen deeply, I think we can all help another person feel understood. Yeah. So
How can an individual harness their unique strength to overcome obstacles and pave their path to success?
I think the first thing, because I took the StrengthsFinder twice, so I think one, if you can do it, try and get yourself a StrengthsFinder assessment. Go and look deeper into them and maybe work with someone who's able to explain the strengths deeply to you. Because I work with a coach, and he says that for every strength you have a shadow strength. Shadow meaning this, that when you take it to extreme, right, it can be not so good. Okay, so a strength is like you have this wonderful thing that you have, but if you push it to its max or to the end of the spectrum, no one's gonna like it, even though you're very strong at that. So first you got to find out what your strengths are. Second is that I feel that besides the StrengthsFinder assessment, you can also ask your friends, family, people who know you, even people who maybe know you not so well, to tell you what they think your strengths are. So you kind of, in a way, cross-validate the assessment. So sometimes the assessment will tell you this, but you have to really talk to people. And this is where, again, deep listening comes in, because you really have to listen. Some people are not going to be very direct and tell you, here's your strength. So they will go beat around the bush, tell you everything but the strength. So you have to really listen, like ask them, what do you think my strengths are? And I used to do this exercise with some close friends. Once a year, I'll email them, what do you think my strengths are? I actually ask them this question. So they will write back to me. Writing back is not so intrusive for that person, because if we ask them directly, they may feel a bit put on the spot to answer, right? So email them. And then the third thing is, I think, once you know your strengths, I think that's where you have to look for opportunities to use your strengths, to leverage your strengths. Because a strength is nothing if you don't use it. So just say, like, in my case, my strength, one of my top strengths is a strategizer. So strategy is what I really like doing. So how do I maximize or use this strength is that I try and volunteer for boards or committees where I'm able to let them or show them or share with them what is like the strategy first, or look at the big picture first before you even go into tactics. So to me, I think that's the best use of my strength. So if you can identify an opportunity, go for it. If you're great at speaking, MC more events, host more webinars, raise your hand whenever there's an opportunity to do that.
Now, let's probably switch a little bit here, because you have been very actively in the non-profit organization. Why do you think it's important to volunteer? Beside all the busy schedules and all this, why still volunteer in a non-profit organization?
Number one, when you co-found an association, if you ask me now, in hindsight, would I have done it? I was thinking to myself, no. Knowing all I know now, I think, oh my God, look at the challenges, look at the things that you need to do for an association and nonprofit, right? But back then, because I didn't know what I didn't know. So what I knew at that point in time was in 2006, my co-founder and I, both of us couldn't find the right networking group for us. So basically, we were like scratching our own itch, right? Like we were thinking, how I wish we could have this kind of organization where we could bring together women in business and meet once a month and talk about business, talk about opportunities, talk about, how we run our business and all that, and share. And so that's how we started. So of course, as you started, you are part of the committee, you are part of the ongoing growth of the association. So that's community work, a lot of community work. So one of the reasons why I believe that it is good is because when I'm doing community work, it gives me a sense of meeting other people that I normally wouldn't meet in my business, in other capacities. So meeting people is a great way to meet people. And two, when you meet people and when you're both in the same organization or association or community organization, you are aligned on a common mission or a common goal. And for instance, like in our Women Entrepreneur Association, we're aligned about nurturing and growing women entrepreneurs. So all of us have this common goal. And when you have a common goal, I think it's easier to talk to people. People are more, open to talking to you and things like that. So you also learn. So the part of it is like, one, you meet people, two, you learn. And the third part is also, the good part about being in a non-profit is that you get opportunities to lead. And if you lead badly, no one can fire you. I mean, that's the truth, right? I mean, honestly, you go to a nonprofit and say, hey, I'm volunteering my time and energy. I'm going to help you with this project, right? It can go either way. It can go like really successful, or it can be like, not so great. But even if it's not so great, no one's going to say, hey, I'm going to fire you because you did so badly in this project, right? So they say, okay, maybe we're not going to fire you, but let's do a post-mortem. Let's learn how we could improve it so that the next time we do this project, it would not bomb so badly. So I think it's a great learning place, right? I mean, honestly, all of us, if we had to learn in a safe space, I would say that being in a nonprofit allows you to learn. And people are a little bit more forgiving because you are spending your time and energy, being in that community or that organization. So it's a win-win. I would say it's a win-win. So that's why I believe that it's good. So if anyone is thinking of like, okay, which organization or which nonprofit should I go to, just go and just go out there and make friends and learn how to lead as you take on projects or being in subcommittees. Yeah. That's why I believe that it's so important for all of us to be in nonprofits.
Thank you, Krista. Beside the benefit, like what Krista mentioned, or you can lead so then but for some of the I believe some of the participants here, right, they might be haven't do any voluntary work, so maybe you can share with them, right, all of us here, what are maybe one or two of the challenges, right, when you move from the actual business and volunteer in that non-profit. So people are different, right? The way people treat the organization are different. So what are the challenges, and how we can overcome them?
Suha, as someone who has been doing this NGO work for 17 years, so I can tell you that the number one challenge that we always have is succession planning. Always. When you have AGM and you say, who would like to volunteer to be on the committee or on the board? It's actually quite hard to get people, because everyone will say, oh, but I don't have time. I'm busy with work. I have this, I have that. So it's very rare that someone says, hey, I want to take on the role of the president or the vice president, or a secretary. Secretary jobs are the worst. And nobody wants to be a secretary because so much of minutes, right, to write. So all these things, as secretary and treasurer, nobody wants these jobs. But succession planning, to me, I think, is always the key challenge for any organization. So it's not just a newly set up organization or even one who's been running for 17 years. It's just that maybe people don't see how they can contribute in that way. So one of my key areas that I always support our chairperson and her team is to always work with her to see, okay, after your 2-year term, who do you think in your committee can step up and be in your position? So we're always working with that. So we're always looking out for talents, even in the NGO, looking for talents, looking for people who can really step up and play a role. So part of the thing that I do right now is I kind of feel a little bit like a HR manager sometimes in my NGO, is that I kind of look, okay, is this person suitable to be, a secretary, or is this person suitable to be that? So in that way, we are prepping that person. So I will go and ask this particular person, so do you have an inclination to do this? Do you like doing this? So again, based on the strengths finder, right? Do you want to do this, or do you like doing this? So based on that, we try to kind of nudge them in the direction so that they can take the roles that they need to take when the next AGM rolls around. So to me, succession planning is definitely a big thing. I mean, I don't think it was only for NGOs. I think in organization, businesses, anywhere, people just find it very hard to step up and take the lead. And the other thing that I really believe in the challenge is that to create a strong, thriving community, especially for NGO, people come and go, right? It's just membership I'm paying. Just a membership is usually quite nominal, right? Even if, sometimes we pay a membership, but we may not attend the events. We may not come for the, whatever gathering that they have. So how do we always continue to bring members along on that mission and vision that we have set for our organization? And I think that is very, very key. So we're always doing that. I mean, we haven't found the secret formula. So we're always trying to tweak this, maybe more in-person events. I think after COVID, everyone just is raring to go for in-person events. So we try to create more in-person events rather than online events. So I think these two things for me: succession planning for NGO, very big, big deal. And two is creating a community of thriving, excited, enthusiastic members who are able to go out there and tell other people about the NGO, because our NGO is just based on the membership of people. And if we have higher quality members, we have higher quality NGO. So that's just how it works. So to me, that is my two biggest challenges for myself and my team right now, is to do that.
So if someone that interested in NGO, right, how the person go and if they don't have any network, well, except they come today, so they know about the NGO that both of you work on. But how do you tell that someone that they would like to volunteer but they don't know where to volunteer?
I think when you want to join an NGO, make sure your own passion is aligned with that NGO's mission vision. Because like for myself, when I started the Book Adoption Center in my taman, I personally love books. And the reason I started that was because they were scrapping books. They were recycling books. Recycling, literally tearing the books and selling them off as scrap paper. So as a book lover, I go there and see, how can people do that? That's a resource, right? I mean, I pay so much for books these days. I mean, these days books are like at least 50 ringgit and above. So I felt it was such a waste. So if you can see that your passion aligns with that, then perhaps you may want to join. Just say you love books. You may want to join this book adoption center and volunteer to help on the weekends. Or just say if you like animals and say, oh, I like cats. Okay, so go and find a cat NGO and you can visit them for a while. Don't straight away volunteer, because you may not like the people. So sometimes it is what it is, right? I mean, you may like the cats, but you may not like the people. So go and volunteer 2 hours of your time on a Saturday, see what you like, what you don't like about it. And then try to make sure that what you're volunteering for is something that you really like. Because once you like that thing, you may work with people who may not be like the best of the best, but your passion keeps you going. Like my love of books keep me doing this because I like doing this. So because in the NGO world, there is no remuneration. There is no one's going to pay you anything. So you get paid in satisfaction. So make sure you yourself are satisfied with what you're going to do and you're happy doing. If you don't like doing it, please don't join the NGO, even though if the NGO is like, very, very established and all that, because I've known people who join NGOs because of certain reasons, but then after 1 year, they don't join anymore because of the culture. So it's the same thing, right? Like organizations, businesses, the culture, the people is what makes you go back over and over again. And so if you can find something you like to do, something that really makes you very excited, and you'll do it even if literally it is free because you're volunteering your time, you're doing it because it's free, make sure you are personally satisfied because of that, and then you join the NGO. I think that's my way of looking at it, because I think nothing fizzles faster than hating it and then thinking, oh, I regret, I don't want to be part of this anymore.
17 years of experience.
Thank you, Krista. I totally agree with you, because I'm from Toastmaster, so I now what I learned from Toastmaster, I giving back to the company, like sharing that this event, right? And but whenever people ask me about Toastmaster, I say come join our activity first, before you sign up or you decided want to be part of the club, right? So come and look be in the part of activity, but you don't need to be a member of the club first.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I have another questions from the audience, right? How do you define success? At this moment, do you consider yourself successful? How do you define success, and do you consider yourself successful now?
Krista, you want to take first or?
Okay. After the 17 years of experience in NGO, right? Okay. How I define success is when I have control over my life. I think a lot of times when we look at our lives, we want to be successful. So this successful, like I said, these days, it can be successful as a parent, successful as a entrepreneur, successful as a corporate person. Define that success for yourself. But to me personally, I think success is control. Like control meaning like, can I get to choose what I want to do? Can I get to choose the people that I want to work with? Can I get to choose, the situation? And if I have a bad situation, can I do something about it? Do I have options to do something about it? If I can, if I have, and I'm really in control of my life, I think that I define that as success. But the other one, which I actually have it on my Facebook cover, is that Success by Maya Angelou is all about liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it. So to me, that really is also another version of success, is that you really must like it. You really must like what you're doing and how you're doing it and the people you're doing it with. And that to me is success. If we're talking about success definition of like, making $1 million, driving, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini and all that, I mean, that could be someone else's version of success. That could not be your version. So you have to, like, again, back to Suha, I also love Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits. Start with the end in mind. Like, what is your end in mind? What is your success to you? So if you can see your success from that point of view, I think it is easier to live today's life, because today life comes at you, whether you like it or not. You see things on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, so many people, and especially LinkedIn, where everyone is there on a success, how should I say, like success update, right? I mean, nobody's going to update something nasty on LinkedIn. They're going to tell you the latest accolade, the latest milestone in their life. But knowing that, and knowing what you stand for yourself, knowing what you want to do for yourself, and whether you're hitting your own personal KPIs or OKRs or whatever you want to call them, actually helps you. So I guess even from a business point of view, you have the OKRs, but from a personal point of view, I think we should all have personal OKRs so that we know whether we are hitting those goals that we have set for ourselves. And if I hit those goals, I think you can safely define success in your way and be happy with that. Sometimes we look at that, okay, how do I define success? Just think of who you were a year ago. We've all grown so much in a year or 2 years or 3 years, right? You are not the same you that you are 3 years ago. And that, I think, can really be counted as success. I'm sure you've learned something in 3 years.
How about Krista? What do you think about
when we're talking about changes, right? The first thing that came to my mind is everyone's talking about ChatGPT. Right? I mean, you cannot avoid a conversation with people online or offline talking about ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is a change that's coming at us. Okay, so regardless of whether we give it permission or not, it's going to come into our lives and invade our lives, right? So a lot of people, especially in the creative industries, they're feeling very worried because, number one, if ChatGPT can write it better than you, if ChatGPT can design better than you, if ChatGPT can, write something, even music, they can make music better than you. So what is the role of you, right? Like, where do you stand? So there are two camps. So one is that I hate it, I'm not going to use it because it's going to take take my job away. The other camp is, let's play with it, let's explore it, let's be adventurous, let's try something, right? We don't know where it's going. It sounds a little bit like a dangerous thing, but it's also like quite fun because it can create all kinds of things. So there's these two different camps, right? The hate it and the ones who are loving it. And so if you think of change that is coming at you like that, sometimes it's good to ask ourselves, am I feeling this way because my job is not going to be relevant anymore? And a lot of people who feel I hate it, I'm not going to use it, is because they feel threatened by it. And I think sometimes when we feel threatened by something, we have this very strong emotional reaction, frustration, anger, not going to use it and all that. But if we take ourselves out of it, and today I read a very interesting email, is that the person says, we are feeling that way about ChatGPT is because we are defined by our jobs. Like, I'm a writer, I'm this. Therefore, ChatGPT is going to be a better writer than me, better, artist, better designer than me. But what if we took ourselves out of the definition of the job? Okay, just take yourself out of it and learn how to play and embrace what's coming instead of being very reactive about it. Perhaps then we will learn something about it, that perhaps maybe it's going to create a new job. I mean, right now, prompt engineers is actually a occupation, something that people want to learn. Like 10 years ago, people were saying, send your kids for coding. No, today, no need. Your kids will not need to learn how to code. ChatGPT will code for you. So you see, the changes that are coming at us is unexpected. We can't change it. We can't do anything with it. It's going to sweep us along, or we're going to go with it, or we're not going to go with it. So I think a good way to have these unexpected changes coming at us is to really take a very neutral stand. Try not to get too reactive about it. Try to understand it and try to play with it. I think these days technology is all about playing, right? So I guess, you understand it. Technology is about playing. Play with it and see where it takes you. Maybe I'm no longer going to be defined by my job title, right? But maybe that's the way of the future. We don't need to be defined by job titles. There's no longer job titles. There's no longer like I'm doing this. So we could be a little bit more freer with our options in life and then accept those changes. So if it's not a change that you can control, I think you should try and find out how you feel about it. And then ask yourself, why are you feeling those feelings? And can you overcome those feelings? And you can take the next step, which is actually do something with it, that change that is happening to you. And if it's something you can control, of course, great, do something about it because you can control it. But if you can't control it at ChatGPT, just swim along with it, go with it and figure out something that you can do with your life in future. Maybe not even our lives, because all of us at a certain stage, maybe it's our children, our, great grandchildren who's going to do something with it. So yeah, let's have an open mind. To me, I think it's have an open mind. Yeah.
Last but not least, I think it was asked by a few of the audience. They want to know your maybe in like less than 1 minute, share us your quote of life.
Quote of life. Wow. For me, I think I always love being adventurous, whether it is physical adventure or non-physical adventure. So physical adventure would be, traveling would be one, okay, and doing something different every day is another. But the digital adventures are fun ones because digital can take you many, many places. So try and have some adventures in your life every single day if you can. If you cannot, if you're too bogged down by work, maybe try something different every single month in your life. Because our lives are not just about working and business and making money and doing all these things, but it is also the meaning that we make in our lives for ourselves and the people around us. So our family members and the people around us that we care for and matter to us. So for me personally, I try to go back to Selangor every 3 months to visit my dad and just go and have breakfast with him, because those are the little things that not it doesn't count like anything, but it has more value over the long term. So things like that. So I say have adventures. Probably that's my code of life. Even if it's just having breakfast with your dad.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for attending this event. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing all your great experiences.
Thank you, committee, and thank you